Welcome back to part 2. Now we're going to continue our work on our source program. So we will go in and take a look at what we have. And in the previous section, we took the algorithm, embedded it in the program, introduced our variables, compiled it. So what we have now is a working program. Doesn't do much, but it's working, it compiles. So now we're going to start doing the algorithm. And we're going to start with what step? Step 1. All we're going to do is do another version of the program that implements step 1 only. So let's read the program assignment to see how we read the input. First of all, we check to see if there are any specific requirements about how we read the input. And it looks like there's nothing special. So you can ask for the file name any way you wish. So let's go in and put the code in. Normally when you issue a prompt, you should always begin with an inline, so the prompt starts on a new line. Enter file name, or you can say the word none for keyboard input. We're going to read it in. Know the variable that we want to use. Now, here's a little technique that we're going to try our first version. As soon as we read it in, we're going to output what we read. Just going to output what we read. Just to demonstrate that we're reading things properly. So with that, we're just going to compile it. So we're going to say compile. Okay. This time, let's go ahead and compile it. And produce an executable file called U instead of a.out, so we can just run it. We see the copyright, we see enter a name, we're going to say none for now. Okay? Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to try a simplification. That is, we're going to write the first version of the program as if the input is just from the keyboard. Let's do that first. That's a more straightforward thing. So let's go back into our algorithm and see what we can do. So, when we ran this, we entered the file name and we echoed it. So we correctly read the file name. So we're safe on that. So technically, this statement is no longer required because we are convinced that we're able to read it. Now let's see what we have to do here. If the file name is none, we're going to read the customer. What does that mean? It means for step 2, we're going to do just the if part, and this part only. We're not going to worry about this part yet. Okay? So let's do that. Question is, can we do this? Do we know how to do this? And what's the answer? Of course, it's just a simple if statement. If file name is none, then what are we to do? We got to read the data. Alright? So, how do we read the data? Well, remember let's save this for now. We had the key program. When we run the key, what happens? First of all, it says, it kind of says you really should have had a prompt that said this. In our main program, that should have been our prompt, because your program is supposed to mimic. So let's make sure we clean this up. Let's put the prompt in here as shown on the other. Okay, so that's one thing. Alright, what's the next thing we have to do? We're going back to the key. So we've done this. We're going to say none. what does this do? It says enter meter readings, boom. So why not just use the same prompt as the key did? So we're going to say what? It's a prompt. We're going to start with inline. We're going to put what we read. A little much, huh? So let's break this. All right. So that's the prompt. What comes after that? We have to read the things. Remind yourself, in what order do the data appear? It means the starting reading, the ending reading, and the customer name. Remind yourself, I read here, stop here. I read the end reading, stop here. The name comes after one space, so I must use that ignore, and I must use a get line for the name. So what's involved? Reading it from the keyboard, we're going to say read what? What was our variable? Meter start, meter end. Meter start, meter end. All right. And now we've got to do what? Ignore. Ignore one space. And then we have to do get line. And it's a customer name. Let's make sure the variable is right. Customer name. Okay. Now what are we going to do here? We're going to echo what we read again, just like we did before. This is a temporary thing where we're going to say, we're going to output meter start, put a space, meter end, put a space, and customer name. And that's going to be the next version of our program. Let's compile it. So we're going to compile. And it says we got a problem with our variable, so let's go and fix it. Cause capital N. Customer name, fix that, compile. Same problem twice. And go back and compile again. Run what we have, and we're going to say none. We're going to enter 1, 2, and Dr. Jones. Boom. And it appears that we're reading the inputs. So now we're satisfied that we are able to read the inputs. Is it clear that we're making progress? We got a ways to go, but we've made progress. So let's go back and see where we are in our program. Again, we don't need this anymore because we have proven to ourselves that we're reading the input. So let's tighten this up. Again, we're going to solve the problem as if everything is coming from the keyboard. Let's do that first. So what's the next step? We're going to say step 3. Let's put the shape of step 3 together. What does it say? It says we're going to have an if. Okay, for right now we're going to say, I'm just put a placeholder in here because I'm trying to get the shape of this. We're going to say, if something is true, we're going to do this, right? Otherwise, we're going to do this. That's the shape. if, it's down here, otherwise means else. So if I compile this, it will compile now. But I have the shape of the program in place. So let's just do that, just to show you that you can do a little bit of something and declare it a step forward. So let's compile again. All right, it compiled, everything is fine. Now let's go quickly and notice that at this point we have the data, so we can do this. So what does it mean that the reading is bad? That the start reading is different from the end reading. So if we say meter end is less than meter start, that's a bad reading. So what are we to do? Right? Well, it looks like the algorithm says you need a variable that you're going to set to true. What does that mean? It means you need a bool variable. Remember, we call this a flag. So we're going to put this in, and this is a bool, bad reading. And this is going to be a bad meter reading flag. And it's set as true when end is less than start. Okay? Just a reminder of the meaning of it. All right, again, I did something as simple as make a declaration. I'm just going to test it, see if it will compile. And now let's get back in here and do what we said. If meter reading is that, we're going to say bad reading is true. What do we do next? We have to write out the bad meter message, bad meter reading message. And what is that? Go back to the assignment. What does the bad meter reading look like? It looks like let's find it. Bad meter reading and this. We got to say that. Right. We got to fill this in now. We got to say bad meter readings. What goes here? Meter start. Yeah. But right now, let's do it this way. Let's break it out into parts because we may have to format this part. Right? Meter start followed by, kind of mess it up a little bit. It's followed by, go back here and see, space and in parentheses the word start. So it must be this and meter end followed by the word end and a new line. Okay? So that's it. Now, again, we're going to worry about formatting this later. So let's just make sure we're able to make the decision. So we're going to try that. We're going to about ready to take a break here. So we're going to try to compile that. It compiles, so we're just going to run it now. So I'm going to say none. I'm going to give it a 1, 2, me. Run it again. I'm going to reverse the readings. And what do we get? Bad meter readings Here's the starting, here's the ending. So we're recognizing a bad meter reading. All right? Now, there's more to it than that, because once I print this out, I must also print out this as the statement. But the statement looks like this. Every utility statement looks like dash line, space, this line, space, this line, blank line, etc. So when it's time to print out this utility charge, we've got to remember that we had a bad reading. And instead of printing out the actual numbers, we're just going to print out the special message here. Let's get back to our algorithm. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay. So after that, we can do what? We can say output the bill. What does the bill look like? Well, we're going to start on a new line. And what does the bill look like? It looks like this. So what are we going to do? We're going to copy this. We're going to paste it in here. And do a new line here. We'll do that instead. We're going to print the whole thing. And what's involved here? Going to print this. We need a blank line. We need 2 lines. What's the next line we're going to print? We're going to look at this and say we need something that says customer name followed by that. All right, so what's that? Customer name followed by the actual customer name. So it's going to be this. If we copy all this, everything will line up. What's the name of our customer? I think it's customer name. And let's be consistent. We're basically going to say we need 2 blank lines now. Inline. And we're going to stop for right now, catch our breath a little bit, and see what we have. Let's go ahead and compile this. Let's see if it compiles. Okay, wow, that's amazing. So let's run this one more time, and we're going to call timeout. We're going to say none, bad meter reading, bad reading. All right. And what's coming out? We get the message. We're beginning to produce the output that says customer name is that, and we'll do the rest. I think I'm going to leave it up to you to finish the rest of that. Okay, but you get the feel for that. So the next time we start, we will have all of this filled in, and we will continue on the program.